I've got to tell you about this one day that started just like any other. It was a Saturday morning, the kind that makes you feel like the world's not so bad, sun shining, birds chirping. You know, the perfect kind of day where everything feels right. I was out there, elbow deep in the wiring of my pride and joy me big bus, the one I low Vy call Saw the Behemoth. Saw it was my magnum opus, my sanctuary, the project I'd sunk way too many hours into. This bus was going to be a mobile workshop, a command center, and a badass escape from suburbia. But of course, there's always someone who's got an opinion about everything, right? Enter Brenda HOA, Karen Extraordinaire, the president of the Elm Street Homeowners Association, a woman who absolutely despised the sight of my bus in the driveway. She'd been on my case from day one, sending me endless emails about how my eyesore of a Project VY neighborhood aesthetics. And this morning, just like so many mornings before, she was marching up my driveway, clipboard in hand, probably to add yet another violation to my ever-growing collection. I just finished some wiring for the PA system I was installing when she showed up. With her purple clipboard clutched like a shield, her poodle yapping away behind her, she looked like she was about to drop a bomb. "Michael, this vehicle is still an eyesore," she said, her voice tight, like she was holding in a sneeze. "And the noise. Princess Fluffy but has been traumatized by your incessant hammering." I wiped the grease off my hands, looking at her. "Brenda, it's a work in progress. I'm using a rubber mallet, low decibels, practically zen-like." She wasn't Hawaiiing it. She thrust the violation notice at me. "Another violation," she snapped. "Section 7, subsection C, paragraph 2. Unauthorized vehicle modifications visible for more than 48 hours. You're on day 73. Day 73. I had a whole collection of these notices piling up. I almost wondered if I could wallpaper my bus's bathroom with them once I got the plumbing sorted. "I'll file it with the others," I said, taking the slip. Brenda turned, her poodle following her, and she didn't even look back. "The committee meets on Tuesday," she said. "This defiance will be noted." As I turned back to the bus, Dave, my best friend, came over. He leaned against the doorway, sipping a beer. "Man, you've got a talent for pissing people off," he said, looking at the bus. "But hey, you've got something that screams, I'm doing weird stuff, so there's that." I smirked. "It's not about being looked at. It's about potential, Dave. This bus, when it's finished, will be a mobile workshop, a mobile command center. It's got a galley, tool benches, communications, and a PA system that could announce the ice cream truck's arrival or, evacuate the neighborhood in a storm." That's when the weather report came through the crackly radio on the bus. Tropical Storm Esmeralda strengthening in the Gulf, with the potential for heavy rainfall and localized flooding. Residents are said to re-VYEW their emergency plans. Localized flooding. That was bad news for this part of town. I turned to Dave. "Wonder if Brenda's got an HOA bylaw for that." "Probably," Dave chuckled. "And sandbag color coordination, knowing her." I immediately grabbed my phone and called Sparky, the electrician. I needed the PA system, lights, and emergency equipment up and running. Sparky was all over it, bouncing around with more caffeine in his system than any human should probably have. We wired the system, added high-intensity floodlights to the bus, and made sure everything was switchable from the main console. By late afternoon, the storm was here. It wasn't just rain, it was torrential. And as I checked the weather alerts on my phone, an alarming email from Brenda popped up. "Urgent. Please ensure all decorative outdoor items are secured or brought inside to prevent dangerous projectiles. HOA rules are not suspended due to weather." Brenda. Even in the middle of a storm, she was worried about gnomes and flamingos. But then, as the storm raged on, something weird happened. The flood evacuation sirens, installed just last year after a close call with a flood, suddenly cut out. Just like that. No warning, no gradual fade, just a sharp, eerie silence. I knew something was off. I called the emergency line, but both numbers were busy, the lines overwhelmed by storm calls. Then it hit me. The siren control box, the main hub for our neighborhood's evacuation system, was right next to Brenda's house. And sure enough, I ran out into the storm, through ankle-deep water, to find that the box's access panel had been tampered with. There were footprints, small, sensible ones leading directly to Brenda's house. I knew exactly who was behind this. She had to be. I grabbed a flashlight, and there she was, standing by the control box, a pair of wire cutters in hand, trying to look inconspicuous. "Brenda!" I shouted. "What the hell are you doing?" She jumped, clearly caught. "Michael, it was making a dreadful noise. I had to fix it," she said, looking like a deer caught in headlights. "Fix it?" I yelled. "Those are flood evacuation sirens, Brenda. People need to hear them." "Oh, please," she sniffed. "It's just a bit of rain." The siren didn't have an HOA permit for that noise. I was simply rectifying the situation. I stared at her, speechless. People could die because she wanted to silence an alarm over some SAW permits. I turned and sprinted back to the bus, my mind racing. This wasn't just an HOA dispute anymore. This was reckless endangerment. I hopped into the behemoth, fired up the diesel engine, and within 5 minutes, I was rolling down the street, PA system blaring, floodlights shining. I made an announcement loud enough to be heard over the storm, letting the residents of Elm Street know about the flood warning, where to evacuate, and what to do. Brenda was on her porch fuming, but I didn't care. The people needed to hear it. As I passed her house, I gave her a quick blast from the air horn. She looked like she was about to explode. The floodlights turned the streets into a miniature stadium, and my voice echoed down the block. It was working. People were getting the message. I wasn't sure how Brenda would handle it, but I didn't care anymore. I ended up pulling an elderly couple out of a flooded car, using the behemoth's high clearance and tow hooks to rescue them. And sure enough, when I was done, Brenda showed up in the rising water, still clutching her disintegrating bylaws, and still complaining about my vehicle causing damage to the asphalt. That was the moment it all clicked for me. "Brenda, there are people in danger right now. Actual people. You're worried about permits." I snapped, my voice barely contained. "Go home, Brenda, or find someone who actually needs help for once in your life." She stood there, sputtering, for the first time in forever, speechless. After that, I kept going, my bus making the rounds, warning people, helping where I could. Eventually, the rain died down, and the emergency services set up a staging area at the local high school. But I wasn't done. I knew I'd pissed off some folks, but in the end, people were safe. Brenda? Well, she ended up being removed from the HOA presidency after that little stunt. And the new HOA president, Gary, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, finally came around and gave me an exemption for the bus. They even let me keep the color, though we agreed on forest green instead of my original primer gray. You know, the whole thing's still kind of crazy to think about. But in the end, sometimes the guy with the loudest, most unorthodox solution is the one that gets the job done. As for Brenda, she's still trying to get a petition going for regulating the migratory patterns of Canada geese over Elm Street. Some things never change. What do you think? Do you think I went too far? Or was it a matter of doing what had to be done? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to share this with anyone who might appreciate a little unconventional heroism.